Hi, John Miles here, and I'm going to show how to set up and use the infrared eye camera. Now this is a modified model that's designed to only get infrared images, and the illuminator has been designed to enable that. So you open the case first by pushing in the middle button and lifting up the latches, and then you'll see the camera, the illuminator, the retinal exam lens, and then a few accessories like the camera battery charger. There is a second lens here for general purpose photography, and a few accessories like the USB cord, an extender to allow it to better reach the computer, and an audio video cord. You could take movies, infrared movies with this, and there's a spare camera battery right here. So the first thing is to remove the camera, and I always use 3 fingers like this with one thumb behind here and the other 2 fingers there, and that just works out the easiest way to remove it. And so I'll also put a couple fingers here to hold the phone down. And then that is brought out and set down. And the same thing for the illuminator. You can lift it straight up, and the illuminator is designed to allow the camera's built-in flash to go through and come right down through the center. And it also has an adjustable brightness focusing light with a both in the upper positioner for white LED light for focusing, or in the lower position is these 2 are infrared, and you can't see them because your eye isn't sensitive to infrared, but it's on there, and I'll show you how that works. And the brightness of the focusing light, either mode, is controlled by this dial. And the power is supplied by 4.5 volt, a triple A battery pack, or there's also a cord you can plug into USB. And that is the illuminator. So you bring that out. And then the third element here is the retinal exam lens, and this is a pan retinal 2.2 Volk examination lens. It's commonly used for binocular indirect ophthalmoscopy. However, with this camera we'll be doing monocular indirect ophthalmoscopy. So I'll put this aside for just a moment, and I'll show how this works. The first step is to remove the lens cap. It's a center pinch cap. Notice there's no filter because we don't want to block the infrared. And then the camera normally for macro photography will be set to the M setting for manual, and then you dial this with your left hand as you hold it with the right all the way down until the dial stops at 2.286 meters or 1 foot. The barrel will keep turning, but the lens will be at minimum focus. That will minimum distance focus, which is the maximum magnification of 1:1. So the sensor is 15 by 20 millimeters and is looking at an area of 15 by 20 millimeters, and it's about 12 inches from the mounting bolt position there. And next, generally I'm going to use it in the M setting for manual for infrared. And then to show how the illuminator works, I'll go through the steps for attaching it. First step is to power on the camera by rotating this slider switch to the outboard position, then on. Check that it's on M. Check that it's on the minimum focus, closest focus. And then push this button here to pop up the flash. There's a wide range of settings you can use, and I'll show them with the monitor next. But first, I'll hold the camera. I generally hold it like this, and then take the illuminator, and it is a hood mount illuminator, so the hood you place onto the lens so that the top is right at the 9 o'clock position, and then you turn it 90 degrees so it clicks into place right at the 12 o'clock position. As I mentioned, there's the focusing light controls are here. So this is the power. It's a potentiometer with the switch and the brightness, and then this will switch between the visible white light for focusing or infrared. And there are different times when you want to use either. Next, what I'm going to do for the rest of this demo is I'll plug in the monitor, because you can, there's a couple of ways. You can connect it to a computer, which is probably the preferred method, and use software, or for this demo I'm just going to plug it into an HDMI port on this monitor. And so it has a mini HDMI that goes into the second connector from the bottom, like that. And then whatever shows up on the back screen here will show up on your monitor. So it's a convenient way for me to show how to adjust the settings. Right now, as I say, there's two ways of getting illumination for your infrared photography. One way is to use the flash, which includes the infrared band. Only the infrared light will arrive at the sensor, but you can use the flash. That'll produce a lot of light. Or it's possible, what I'll sometimes do is lift this up a little, close the flash, so I'm not using the flash, but just use these two infrared lights down here. And that will result in obviously a lot less light than the strobe, but it will allow you to view the images in real time. And then if you want to go back to using the flash, you just pop it up and lift that out of the way, and it'll go like that. So just to demo this, I'll take a picture of my own eye. I'll put it on autofocus, and I'll use the white light for focusing light, and basically I'm just going to using autofocus, I get a picture of the eye. Now, for the retina, of course, we'll put this handheld indirect exam lens right in front of the eye, like that, while you're taking it. But you'll need a chin rest for that, most likely, unless you're very skilled. However, I'm going to review some of the other ways of getting this picture. So here you have an infrared image of the eye, and with the retinal exam lens you can see further into the eye, to the rear of the eye. Now, to demonstrate some of this, I'm going to use a model here, which is just it's a glass paperweight, and it has a lot of colorful flower patterns in there, and we'll look at that as if that were the retina. And then I'll mount this on a little tabletop tripod like so. And now you can see how that works. And then the next step will be, I've got it on the visible light, so if I take a picture again here, it'll focus automatically in this case, and you can see the close-up view of the pattern that is in there. That is also, it's possible to go into live view, which is where you push this little button called LV on the back, and then when you do that, the mirror flips up, and now we're actually looking at a live view of the subject. And the picture can still be taken in live view, and again it is using the flash, but it is only capturing the infrared light. Now I can also flip this down to the lowered position, and you'll see it, the top lights go off and the bottom lights will come on. And I can do the same thing here. So here we have a live view photo, and I illuminated it with infrared light, and we get the picture just like that. All right, now the second way of taking pictures is to not use the flash. So for that I'm going to pop that down, and one of the things that helps is to increase the ISO. So the ISO settings is actuated by this menu button here, and then I'll go in here and I'll change it from 200 to about 6400 is good. And then Now I will go into what is the actual live view, which is kind of like a real-time video picture. So now what we have here is infrared that's visible. You can see in the infrared the reflection dots are showing up. And when I switch it to visible, the white light coming out of the top tube, there is none of that arriving at the sensor. But you can still use it for focusing when you're using the viewfinder. It takes a bit of time to learn all the possibilities here. So now we're in a live view, and we can still take the picture just by pushing the picture taking button, and we get this picture. Again, those are the infrared lights. And going back to live view by just pressing lightly on this here. And so now when I move the camera, you'll see the image move. And just to show when I turn off the focusing light, you still got the picture because there's a lot of ambient incandescent light available to illuminate the subject. So those are the two ways. You can use just these two infrared lights and get a picture, or you can use the flash. And to show an example of the use of the indirect lens, generally you'll work with a much longer working distance, and you hold it in front of the eye in such a way as you can then get a much deeper view. It will invert the image, but you do have to be a lot farther away. And the reason it's handheld is you'll see these reflections. You want to avoid those, and you just move this until you are observing the proper detail in the retina. And so this extra magnification will allow you to get all the way through to the rear of the eye. And when you have the subject you need in view, you can just take the picture. So I'll take that here, I'll get that nice and sharp. And it does take a bit of practice to use the indirect exam lens. And there will be some more development needed, I think, to get a good point and shoot camera to have that in a slightly adjustable position. So that is the basics of the camera. And again, there's two ways. You can use the flash, or you can just use the built-in infrared light. And the advantage of the infrared light is that it's invisible to the patient, and their eyes will be able to be the pupil will be a lot larger. So it's non-mydriatic imaging. You don't need to put drops in to make the pupil very large. However, if that's an option, you can also do that. Now, going back to the camera controls here for a moment, I'm just going to show the settings I use here. The way you navigate the menu is there are 4 arrows here, and when the left vertical nav bar here is active, one of them will be a yellow color, and you can move down to any of the other ones. And mostly you won't need to change anything on the first menu, and for the second one you may need to change the ISO. So if I were going to go back to flash, I'm hitting the right arrow here, and then I just go up to 200. That would be for flash mode illumination. And then I'll hit OK. The white balance, you can also calibrate it. So there's a white card included, and all you have to do to do the white balance, I'll just demo that right now. Again, you'll want to demo it with the both modes. But first, let me go to the live view. We're using infrared light here, and I'll take a picture of this card, and it'll just be a sample of what is pretty much pure white. And then I get that image there, and then to apply that to the white balance settings, you can go here to white balance by going to the right in, preset manual, and you can either measure it live or use photo. So I'm going to use a photo, and it will by default offer the most recently taken photo, which is the one I wanted to do. So I'll say, yeah, make that considered white. And now it's balanced for infrared white. If you don't white balance it, the image may be a bit pink. And the next step, what's next? Okay, so going back to the flash mode, the problem with the flash mode, it is a lot of light, but so the advantage is you can get more detail with more light. However, what you'll probably find is that you want to use this live real-time video image here, and for that the incandescent focusing light is not useful. And if I were to turn off these lights, you would see that the focusing light adds plenty of light to get a good infrared image. And so there you have it. That is ready to go, and we can take that picture. And again, with the manual mode, I found is the best for all eye photography in infrared. All right. Now I will be writing this up, and it will be further instruction as I practice more. I made 2 of these so I can practice it, and I will follow up with another video.